Ragdolls. No matter what kind of game they're in, they're always a great mechanic if done right. A body goes limp and gravity does the rest. One good example I could think of is from one of my favorite games, Team Fortress 2. And while the gameplay, weapons, and characters are the main focal point of TF2, Ragdolls are just the cherry on top, as it adds an extra layer of fun to an already amazing game. It's now a staple in most 3D games, but back then it wasn't as prominent due to hardware limitations. The earliest example of ragdolling in a game was in Halo Combat Evolved from 2001. It wasn't that realistic since it was all pre-rendered, but it was still cool to see in action. Then, in 2004, Valve would release Half-Life 2, which would be the game that was known for the first ragdoll mechanic thanks to Valve's Source Engine. Then with textures, music, and sound effects, coding a ragdoll mechanic would also increase the size of a game. Between these three that I mentioned earlier, they would range from 6 to 12 gigabytes, and with PCs in the early 2000s ranging from around 40 gigabytes in storage, most of these games would be stored on a floppy disk to save space. However, if coded properly, it's possible for a game to be smaller in size. So what if I told you there was a game that was so well optimized that despite having advanced ragdoll physics and also individual breakable objects, it's actually still smaller than this random PNG. This is Sumotori Dreams, a very weird and surreal game that came out of nowhere during 2007, and it would end up very popular due to its physics-based gameplay and unique design choice. It was also all over YouTube at the time, so whether you played it yourself or watch YouTubers like Markiplier play it, you'll probably have heard of this game before.
Whoa, hey!
The main goal of Sumotori Dreams is to knock over your opponent, with whoever falls over last being the winner. In Japanese, sumo means wrestler and tori means bird or fighter. Putting them together as Sumotori is just a term for someone who is a sumo practitioner. But there's actually another term for this. The other is Rikishi, meaning gentleman of strength. Now the difference between these two is that Rikishi is the general term for all starting sumo wrestlers under the Sekitori bracket, while Sumotori is the rank below Rikishi, meaning we're technically not playing as sumo wrestlers, but more like sumo wannabes. As for the dream part of the name, do you ever have those dreams where you're trying to run but can't seem to move at all? Well, that's literally how the game is like to play. It'll make you feel like you're a drunk Scottish Cyclops getting into a fist fight with another drunk Scottish Cyclops. Thus the name, Sumotori Dreams. The controls are fairly simple. You can move with the WASD keys and the arrow keys. Backspace and left shift lets you do a jump, and you can shove with enter and left control. The reason there's two control schemes is because it uses the old way of multiplayer, where you have to share one screen. Although, during this time, online multiplayer was already a thing. There is a reason why Sumotori doesn't have one, but I'll get to in a second. All you need to know is that the base game consists of 2 to 4 players, either against bots, your friend, or you and your friend against bots. Every match usually ends up as pure chaos. As I stated earlier, every character in the game can't walk straight without toppling over. That is, if you're not screwed over by the characters themselves, because the characters are actually sentient. Kind of. Basically, at random, the characters will act on their own, essentially hijacking the controls for a brief moment, either walking in one direction or trying to shove the other person as soon as possible. While this might seem like a terrible design choice, especially for something that is kind of like a fighting game, it's all part of the design and it serves as a great way to double the amount of fun to be had. As whether you win or lose, it'll always be funny to watch the ragdolls, like falling down a bunch of stairs or breaking onto a table from a platform above. And that's about it from the game. Funny ragdolls, a few maps, a weird design, and breakable objects. But now you might be wondering why the game is like this. Most other games would be complete with textures, character models, and other stuff to make people want to play it. Yet, in Sumotori Dreams, there's no textures or even a skybox. Heck, even some of the objects have text on them. It almost seems like an unfinished game. Well, it's all by design, and it starts with its creator, Peter Sutz. Peter Sutz is a Hungarian indie developer. Not much is known about him as he doesn't have that many social media accounts. The only thing I could find on him is his LinkedIn, which shows that he is an indie developer, and his YouTube channel that showcases his other games. With all of that in mind, there's two things to note about him. First off, he's very interested in physics related games, as all of his are based on it in some way or another. And secondly, he made everything himself, from his website to his games, and probably his game engine. As for Sumotori Dreams, it was Peter's first official game, and he created it for a German computer festival called Breakpoint, which is just a gathering of computer enthusiasts to showcase their creations, participate in competitions, or just have fun in general. And during 2007, there was a competition at Breakpoint simply titled the 96K Game, where the goal was to create a game that was under 96 kilobytes. You're probably thinking that it sounds easy, just make a game with simple art and simple mechanics, but it's actually a lot harder than you think. You might say that the original Doom from 1993 is enough, but it's actually 2.39 megabytes in size, average size for most Flash games. And here's one fact that might be really shocking to some of you. Minesweeper, a simple numbers game that usually comes free on old computers, is 5 megabytes. And if you want to go even further, the earliest and smallest version of Minesweeper is from Windows XP, and it's still 117 kilobytes. Now you might be thinking that picking a game under 96 kilobytes is impossible, and that there's no way that Sumotori Dreams could even be that small as it's a 3D based physics game, but it actually did, and not only that, it wasn't the first. Back in 2003, 4 years before Sumotori Dreams, there was a first-person shooter game that was actually less than 96 kilobytes, and it looks like this. The game is called K-Krieger, meaning warrior in German. Now I won't go into much detail about this game since my knowledge on coding only goes as far as making a simple shooting game on the Go.engine and using RPG Maker. And also because it's based on Germany, which is totally out of my area zone. But I will save it for a future in-depth video. In short, K-Krieger was the previous winner of the 96K game in 2003 and was able to run at such a small size due to extreme optimization and a very clever way of resource management. That's the key to K-Krieger and in turn Sumotori's, as it's within the limit. By not adding unnecessary sound assets, textures, or mechanics, he was able to achieve less than 96 kilobytes. That's why some text can be seen on some of the models, as his code is reusing certain assets to keep the space low. And if you know about Valve's Source Engine, then you already know why the character model patterns look so familiar. After the competition, Peter decided to release the game to the public for free with a few extra stuff to make it worthwhile, like maps, music, and other features like a secret mode that showcases the game's mechanics by letting you throw balls at a character or at objects. You would think that this would defeat the original purpose of the game as it'll be bigger with all these additions, but it would still beat Minesweeper by only being a total of 100 kilobytes. And it was a success. The simple but funny gameplay made it enjoyable for everyone, and the small size and optimization made it playable on almost every device. Peter also released the code for the game, which allowed people to add more maps and more features to the game. Soon it would be picked up by YouTubers, and that's when it really boosted its popularity as it got to spread to other people. But there's more. You might have noticed I referenced TF2 a lot during the start of this video, and it was intentional. Not because I wanted an excuse to put TF2 stuff in the video, but because of Sumotori Fortress.
Is everyone ready?
Yeah, affirmative.
Who is not ready?
Let's do it!
Honestly, it's quite awesome, and it shows that sometimes simple is perfect, as it allows people to create new things just by adding some extras. In this case, it was voices, and it was something funny I found while researching, so I thought I'd add it in here. All in all, Sumotori Dreams is just about thinking outside the box. From Peter Sutz figuring out a way to fit a game under 96 kilobytes, to modders figuring out how to push the boundaries of maps, to creative individuals who put something as simple as voices and sound effects to enhance their enjoyment of their game. While it's not as popular today, there's no denying it made quite an impact on some of our childhoods during its debut. At the end of the day, win or lose, everybody wins in Sumotori Dreams as you get something that games should always give, and that's fun. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short video. It's relatively smaller than usual, but it was just because it was only a test, as I finally got around to using DaVinci 18. Only time will tell if my editing will improve, but for now, if you liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this one, especially if the segment about Kay Krieger interested you, as I'll be planning to do a full main channel video on it. So for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.